Hi everyone, today I want to show you how to play the One Piece trading card game. I'll be going over a tutorial on how to play and my decision making process on the moves that I made to hopefully get you started on your One Piece trading card game journey. Today I'll be going against Shanks and I'll be playing Buggy. In the simulator, it's random who gets to decide who goes first and who goes second. In real life, you could either roll a dice or flip a coin. For this video, I had the option to choose to go first or second, and I decided to go first. The player who ends up going first only starts off the game with one Dawn and does not draw a card on their first turn, but neither player could attack on their first turn. When you draw your first hand, you get to decide whether you want to keep it or mulligan, and this is one-time choice that you have. Both players get to decide whether they want to keep or mulligan. For simplicity, I chose to keep. Player 1 only gets one Dawn and does not get to draw on their first turn. And neither player gets to attack on their first turn. So as I only have one Dawn, I decided that I can't do very much. I can't attack and I can't play the cards in my hand because they're 4 or greater, so I pass my turn. So the Shanks player got 2 Dawn on his first turn, and now he gets to decide whether he has enough to play cards in his hand. He ended up just playing a card for 1 cost, which is all he could do, and he couldn't attack, so he passed the turn to me. So to start my turn, I draw my Dawn, drew my card already, and then I can't do pretty much anything because all my cards in my hand are 4 cost or more. So I attach 3 to my leader, which increases his power to 3,000 more, and I attacked his leader. He could have decided to counter here and discard some cards to increase the power temporarily to his leader, but he chose not to. So he drew a card. As I can't do anything else, I pass turn to him. He draws a card for turn, and then he gets 2 Dawn. So now he has 4 Dawn, and he plays a card. He chooses to attack with my leader. So since he has the same power as my leader, I need to decide whether I want to counter this by discarding 1 card and temporarily boosting my leader, or taking the attack and grabbing one of my life cards. As I don't have a blocker, I can't block, obviously, so I chose no blocker. And just to resolve, typically, the first attack you should always take just so that you could add a card to your hand. And now, since he can't do anything else, he passes the turn back to me. So I draw my card, I get 2 more Dawn. So I choose to attack him, and now he gets to decide whether he wants to counter or not. I haven't played with Buggy. What Buggy does is I could play rest 5 Dawn and trash 1 card in my hand to play any card in my hand for free. So I choose to play my Bootlicker Buggy, which allows me to play a cost 6 or lower cross guild card. So I play my Draco Mihawk as well. So now cards with a cost of 3 or 4 cannot attack anymore. And Draco Mihawk is a blocker as designated by the orange text on the card. Plus, he allows me to draw 2 cards and trash 1, which is always great as well. So I choose to trash one of my Alvidas since I have 2 of them in my hand. So as I can't do anything else, I pass turn and I give it to my opponent, which he draws, and he gets 2 Dawn. Then on his turn, he plays all 6 Dawn to play Trafalgar Law, which is a 6 cost, 7,000 power creature. And then he ends his turn. He didn't bother attacking because he knows my Draco Mihawk could block, and his 4 cost creatures can attack. So at the start of my turn, I draw, get my 2 Dawn, and I choose to attack first. It's always good to attack first. So I attach 2 Dawn and attack his leader. It's always good to do 2 Dawn because it'll be a 7,000 versus 5,000. Now he needs to either discard 2 cards to not make this go through. So he decides to block. So now he has a choice of whether he wants to counter with the blocker. So he did use Shank's ability to lower my power 1,000. So I'm at 6,000 versus 6,000. So he does need to counter if he wants this blocker to live. And he does choose to counter. So he discards a card to give it an extra 2,000. So I won't kill it this turn. So as I have 5 Dawn open, I decide to use Buggy's ability to get my Crocodile and Mihawk on the board. So he allows me to summon another character, 6 or less from my hand for free, and I also get to draw 2 cards and trash 1. So it's a great card. So I'm going to pair this up with my Alvida that lets me draw 3 and discard 2. So this deck is all about draw power. The more you draw, you swarm the field, and then your big buggies will be in play. So I end up deciding to discard my bootlicker buggy since I already have one in the field. It doesn't make sense to have 2 since he can't attack. So get my Alvida, draw 2, and then I decide to just trash 2 cards from my hand. It doesn't really matter which cards at this point because I already established a good board, but I decide to trash 2. My other Alvida and my Searcher card, my Cross Guild card, since I already have 2 of the big buggies in my hand. Then, as I can't do anything else, I pass turn. He draws his cards, gets 2 Dawn, and then he starts his turn. He plays a 7 cost 9,000 power character, which is great. Attaches 2 Dawn to his leader and attacks me. I have to either counter with the cards in my hand or block if I want to. The thing with the Buggy deck is you need characters. All other characters in your field have to have 5 costs for your big buggies to stick, so I'm not going to do that. And I choose to just take the life and get an additional card in my hand, which is a big buggy, which is great for me. The thing about the One Piece TCG, it's a resource game. So losing life is not necessarily bad if you're getting pieces to your combo. So that's one thing that people constantly make a mistake about. They don't want to lose so much life, so they try to counter every turn. It's not that bad. And as long as you don't lose all your life, you're in the clear here. This time, however, he attacks my leader, and I have to choose whether I want to block it or not. I choose not to and just decide to counter by discarding 2 of my 2,000 counter cards. He has no other moves, so then it's my turn. He passes the turn. I draw my card, draw 2 Dawn, and now I get to play with 9 available Dawn for the turn. In One Piece, it's always good to attack first, so I decide to attach my Dawn to my Crocodile Mihawk, and it's always good to attack the field characters first. It's a battle of resources. He will have 1 less character to attack me with if this attack lands. I attach just enough so that I could still use my Buggy's ability and get a big 10 cost Buggy for 5 cost. So I attached 4. So now my opponent has the option to whether block this attack or to use Shank's ability to lower my character 1,000. So he uses his Shank's ability to lower my character's power, and then he counters the attack to keep his character alive. I then use my Buggy Leader's ability to trash 1 card from my hand. I trash the Crocodile Mihawk to play my big Buggy, which allows me to put 1 character from the field to the bottom of the deck, and then I end my turn as I can't do anything else really. I want to keep Draco Mihawk open for blocks, so I can attack with him. Or rather, I choose not to. So my opponent got his card and his 2 Dawn, and now he has 10 available Dawn to play his turn. He decides to play a 10 cost Shanks. He doesn't know that I have another Buggy that could put it to the bottom deck of my hand, so it's very unfortunate for him. Then he chose to attack my Crocodile Mihawk, and I had to decide whether to let it go or not, so I decide to let it go. He then decides to attack leader to leader, 5,000 versus 5,000, and I decide to counter, not block, just counter. Then he can't do anything else, so he passes the turn to me, so I draw my card, get my 2 Dawn, and then I get to start playing with my full 10 Dawn. So, as I mentioned before, it's always good to attack first. So I attack my Alvida into his Shanks and see what he wants to do, whether he wants to lose resources to save a life card or whether he wants to block. So he uses Shank's ability, and now he can't use Shank's ability anymore. So none of my other characters will be able to lose power with their attack. Then, to control the field, I attack my big Buggy into his character and see what he wants to do, whether he wants to block and I get rid of a blocker, or whether he wants to counter and get rid of some cards in his hands. But I doubt he could do anything here. 12,000 versus 7,000 is just too much to handle, so he might just decide to take it and let his character go here. He does decide to block, so I got rid of one of his blockers, which is great. So then with my Draco Mihawk, I decide to attack his rested character to try to control the board here. He does end up countering to save his character, but at least I got rid of a card in his hand, so it's still a win for me. So now I get to use Buggy's ability to trash one card and play my boss monster, which will put his character at the bottom of the deck. I obviously choose the most powerful character he has, and then I do it again because it's not a once per turn effect. As long as I have 5 Dawn, I can rest them and use my character's ability. So I can't attack with any of my other characters, so I pass turn, allow my opponent to draw his card, and play with all 10 available Dawn that he has. So he chooses to use all his Dawn to play another 10 cost Shanks. He then chooses to attack my Draco Mihawk. I decide to let it go. I could block, but I choose not to. I let it slide. If he attacks my leader, I do want another card in my hand, so I'm going to let him make his decision. So as the card that I grabbed from my life to my hand has a trigger ability, I could play that trigger ability for free. So I choose to do so. So unfortunately, I get the free card and I get another 10 cost Buggy, which I get to play. So that 10 cost Shanks will obviously disappear, as I will then be able to have 4 of my 10 cost 12,000 power Buggies on the field. So my opponent then passes turn since he can't do anything else, and I draw my card. And now it gets crazy. So I don't think he has much of a chance here. So with one of my big Buggies, I decide to attack his character. So that way I'm still control dominance over the field. He can't counter it because it's 12,000 versus 7,000, and he lets that go. So now I have a full Buggy onslaught, so I'm going to attach some Dawn to my Buggies. You could attack with either one here. I just ended up attacking with the 12,000 here, make sure this goes through. He ends up grabbing a life. Then I attack with my leader with 5 attached Dawn, so 10 versus 5. His leader ability won't make a difference. I then use my leader's ability and get another Buggy and bottom deck his Shank. I choose not to attack with my blocker Buggy just in case he has some rush cards that could make me lose the game, so I leave that up and let him play his turn. He plays a Searcher, trying to draw into his deck to try to get an out here, and he's just, I'm not sure he can. So he does get a blocker, which is great, and another blocker. So it's pretty good that he's able to set up some blocks, but I think this field is kind of too oppressive for him. And I end up blocking this attack because I can. So then he passes turn, and then it's the full Buggy onslaught. I draw another 10 cost Buggies, but I choose to attack first and see what he does, whether he wants to block this or not. 12,000 versus 5,000. He has 2 blockers on the field, and now it's his decision. He decides to block, and then I attack with my other Buggy, 12,000 versus 5,000. Now he has to make another decision. He ends up looking at the field and seeing what he can do and what he can't do, and he just decides to concede. I mean, there's not much he could do. So that was the game. Hopefully you guys learned something from it. I think this is a good video to learn the game and a little bit of a Buggy tutorial as well. Please let me know what other types of leaders you want me to play with and what other types of things you want me to clarify as you go through your One Piece TCG journey. Till next time, thank you.